Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday vlog where we discuss activity that goes on here with the channel, headlines that are in the news, pop culture, technology, and items of interest that come up that allow us to have a little bit of a dialogue, an exchange of ideas and thoughts. It's kind of a different format than the activity that goes on here in the channel, and this is something that I wanted to expand into per suggestions from my fellow YouTubers as well. If this is your first time here, I want to welcome you and suggest to you all across all the social medias to follow and subscribe so you guys can continue to get the Friday vlogs. So one of the biggest stories this week, of course, revolves around Southwest Airlines that experienced the engine failure about 20 minutes into the flight. Parts from that engine flew and struck one of the windows where a female passenger from New Mexico, a business traveler, a mother of 2 children, was sitting. And apparently it caused the window to shatter. She was partially sucked into the window. Her fellow passengers came to her rescue and medical procedures were performed on her. Unfortunately, she did not make it. Now, friends of mine that are pilots and flight attendants that I know, as we grew up in an airline community, were making comments about some of the image that the passengers took, showing them not placing the mask properly over their mouths. And of course, all of these procedures that they give you before the flight are there to ensure your safety and to save your life. So make sure you guys are paying attention to those instructions. Also wanted to point out the pilot, Tammy Jo Schultz, an original female aviator apparently from the Navy. She was part of the squadron VAQ-34 from Point Mugu, California. And her first officer, Darren Elliser, were able to land the plane, saving the lives of all the passengers on board. So this weekend, if you are out celebrating, be sure you raise a glass to both Tammy and Darren this weekend. So shortly after last Friday's vlog, the president went on television to announce to the world that a coalition of Great Britain and France had struck areas in Syria. These locations were supposedly known chemical manufacturing buildings that were hit, 3 in total from what we can tell here. Now, of course, the world was on the edge of its seat because we were anticipating a reaction from Russia that apparently never did come. Now, it could be fair to say that because this was sort of a policing action that was kind of backed by other world leaders, that it gave Trump kind of an opportunity to be able to back up his words of taking action and then maybe even call a bluff on Russia, who didn't respond. But I think he at least allowed Russia to save a little bit of face because the United States didn't really strike any areas near Russian locations, or no Russians were hurt or injured. As a matter of fact, no one apparently was killed or injured during these strikes. So I think it kind of worked out pretty well. There was a lot of attention on it, a lot of hyperbolic activity from the media and others that this could lead to World War III, but thankfully it did not. So hopefully the action that took place there will settle things down a little more, even though it appeared that some things were already settled down, which raises a question as to why Assad would even use chemical weapons. What possible gain could he have had by attracting the attention of different world nations to then respond like they did? So we'll just have to keep an eye on it and see what happens. Now, the OPCW was supposed to have gone there to check out and or inspect the initial chemical attack, as it were. They did arrive this week to the location, but they have been stalled and or prohibited from going to those locations to check them out. So we'll just have to see how that story develops. But I would like to hear your thoughts and opinions about what happened in the published section below. Something that came up during this production that I wanted to bring up that's here close to home is in the town west of where I live. They will be having a rally this weekend. It will involve white supremacists and or neo-Nazi groups. Now, I'm not supporting these organizations or giving them any sort of endorsement here. I'm simply suggesting that the reactions that I'm seeing from individuals is curious. Because when I'm talking about politics and other things that go on in our world on Facebook, some people, or not just me, but just people in general, talk about politics or other activities that go on. Most people want to ignore it, or they're like, oh, why are you always talking about politics? Why is there always politics? Now, when it shows up at their doorstep, which is what's happening this weekend over in Noonan, all of a sudden these individuals who would typically not be interested in politics have suddenly become very interested. But here's the problem. Now, as someone who's participated in rallies, not neo-Nazi rallies, just so everyone knows, but in Second Amendment rallies and other conventions and activities, you know, we're all Americans, right? We don't have a set of rules for this group of people and a set of rules for that group of people, or we change laws and privileges and policies for this little group of people down here that apparently are somehow disadvantaged. No, our laws apply to everybody. Someone suggested that the authorities should go through each one of these people's bags or their material and check their... No, they shouldn't. These individuals are Americans. They have their Fourth Amendment right as well as their First Amendment right. Now imagine if you were having a function, or functions that I've gone to. I've got my camera bags, I've got my backpack, I've got maybe even have my CCW with me, I may have my firearm with me. I don't want the police just stopping and frisking for no particular reason. They have to have articulable suspicion. You know, we have laws in this country. Those laws aren't designed for certain groups of people, or to be applied when you don't like something, or to be applied or used when something has happened to you, unless it's of course criminal. But these individuals are just espousing an ideology. So what? No one's going to be interested in what they have to say. They're not going to be selling their worldview to anybody that's going to be receptive to it. Let them speak. As a matter of fact, I say let them speak. Let people listen to what they have to say. People can make up their own minds. If people are reasonable, rational, sober, cogent, they can figure out what's going on here. You don't have to try to stop these people. Let them speak. As a matter of fact, there probably won't be a lot of people in attendance. There'll probably be a lot of gawkers. There'll be a lot of individual covering it, like maybe individuals like me. I'm not going to go cover this particular rally because my video will get flagged here on YouTube, which is another thing I was going to talk to you guys about. But the thing here is just kind of the hyperbolic outrage that I see people talking about. Now, I understand they want to appear as though they're moral arbiters, right? White knighting, as it were, and they just want to appear as though, hey, look at me, I'm talking about a subject that's really controversial. Isn't it so terrible what they're doing? No, it's not terrible what they're doing. They're exercising their First Amendment right. It's called the Constitution of the United States, and we get to exercise. It applies to everybody. No, we don't have special rules that apply to certain groups and certain rules that don't. And just because you don't like it doesn't mean that we have to send in the authorities to give these people a hard time. No, because when you have an idea, when you have a concern, when you want your constitutional rights to apply, you don't want them impeded. You don't have to agree with what they have to say. Don't agree with what they have to say. Don't worry about what they have to say. This is the problem. This is the problem in the United States, is there's these set of rules that apply to some group of people and a set of rules that don't. As a matter of fact, Canada, the United Kingdom, and parts of Europe are losing their rights. People there are losing their ability to speak. They're even banning and barring people from entering their country who have wrong think. You may have seen it in one of my videos. Go back and watch the Brittany Pettibone and Laura Southern, who were banned from entering into the UK because of wrongthink. So don't have wrongthink. Let these people do what they want to do. It's their right. They got the permit, they got the permission. Let them go there. All right, guys, so that's going to kind of wrap up with this highly passionate vlog for this week, or at least in that last segment. I want to thank all you guys for participating here on the channel. I appreciate the likes, shares, and comments. These Friday vlogs are just an opportunity for us to be able to exchange ideas and for you to guys kind of see what I do in front of the camera that I'm doing now. This is not where I want to be. This is not my strongest point. Mine is behind the camera, all the technical aspects, all the creation, the production, the post-production, the editing, all that. That's really kind of my forte. This right here is where you guys can see me, interact with me, talk to me about whatever it is of interest that you have. And these are just a few topics that I like to bring up just to kind of engage you guys in conversation. So if you haven't already, be sure you click on the watermark you see appearing on the screen. For my friends at DTube, Steemit, BitChute, be sure you guys give me a follow there. They're on the blockchain, as well as those that are on Minds and Gab as well. Guys, consider giving me a follow so you guys can continue to get this coverage. Thank you all for your support, and I will see you next Friday.